I'm trying to do my thing here. So, all right, I'll jump right into it tonight. Again, if you see this baseball cap as the thumbnail, that means this is going to be a news video cast. Okay, so so that way you have a good idea of, okay, this is going to be news, or and if it's one of my normal thumbnails, you can say, okay, this is going to be about women behaving badly. Although tonight I do have women behaving badly. Ironically, they're politicians, which I know this is going to be a shock. Female politicians cheating, stealing, getting in fights, and not taking accountability for it. Whoa, crazy talk. Joker, you mean women politicians won't be held accountable for their actions? How shocking. I cannot believe this. This is crazy talk. All right, so the first story I'm going to jump into is directly from NBC News. If you guys didn't hear, in the last day or two, the United States has given munitions to Russia. And there was some controversy over us sending cluster bombs, because the problem with cluster bombs is they don't always explode. And they can land in a field somewhere, and then 7 years from now, a farmer's out plowing his field long after the war, and he rolls over these things, or a kid's playing kickball in a field, and he steps on one of these cluster munitions, and boom, he gets blown to smithereens. Well, the U.S., of course, about a year and change ago, decided to send cluster bombs over to Ukraine, and Ukraine fired a missile, a United States missile, and they've been given quote-unquote approval from the White House to fire upon deep territory in Russia, and one of them they decided to attack was a Russian airfield with cluster bombs. And Russia intercepted the missile because it's heading towards one of their airports, and the damn thing exploded, dropping cluster bombs all over a civilian area. And so now you got civilians having cluster bombs raining down on top of them. Well, that sounds horrendous. And of course it is. Well, Russia knows that United States is giving them Ukraine. Russia knows the United States is giving Ukraine munition, aerial satellite picture, reconnaissance stuff, and Russia said, "Hey, you're now involved in the war, United States. You're now in the war." Now our news, it's kind of quiet on the news front. They're too busy screaming about how Orange Man bad. But we may likely be starting to get some retaliation on U.S. soil. Also, something else that didn't really get reported too much in the news, NATO is preparing 500,000 soldiers for war with Russia over Ukraine and their soil and their lithium and the dirt in the ground. That's a thing that's happening. And they're like, we're not going to talk about it until, we have to start drafting people. Then we'll let you know. From NBC News, Russia blames U.S. for barbaric Ukrainian attack on Crimea, summons the ambassador. The Kremlin vowed retaliation Monday after the deadly strike on the Russian-occupied peninsula. Russia summoned the U.S. ambassador and vowed retaliation Monday after blaming Washington for a deadly strike on a strategic port in occupied Crimea, claiming U.S.-supplied missiles were used in the attack. The strike left at least 4 people dead and more than 150 injured in one of the biggest attacks on the Russian-annexed peninsula in recent months. Russia's defense ministry said 4 U.S.-provided Army tactical missile systems, or ATACMS, rockets were intercepted over the city of Sevastopol, but fragments from the 5th rocket led to numerous casualties among civilians on the ground. Now, according to, correct me if I'm wrong, but according to United States and the way that they're yelling at the Israelis for dropping munitions and accidentally killing Palestinians, wouldn't this, by the U.S.-owned standards, make the United States guilty of a war crime? Because they're sure as hell busy yelling at Israel for accidentally killing Palestinians. So, I mean, this makes us guilty, right? I mean, fair is fair, according to our own U.S. military. They say all flight missions for the American ATA CMS operational tactical missiles are entered by American specialists based on U.S.'s own satellite reconnaissance data, the ministry said in a statement. Therefore, responsibility for the deliberate missile attack on civilians in Sevastopol, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Sevastopol lies primarily with Washington, which supplied these weapons to Ukraine, as well as the Kyiv regime, from whose territory this attack was launched. NBC News could not independently confirm what type of weapons were used. The U.S. has been providing Ukraine with military aid and people and bodies and missiles and tanks. But instead of Americans dying in the war, we're letting Ukrainians die in our proxy war, which to me is just as evil. See, I don't like the way America is like, well, you know, this is a proxy war. This is great. This is wearing down Russia, and we're not even sacrificing any lives. Yeah, no American lives, or not many American lives, just the special forces over there. What about the 500,000 Ukrainian men? Like, they're not going to win. It is a meat grinder. And yeah, you can say, well, we lost 5 million Ukrainian men at the end of this, but Russia also lost 5 million. That's a win. I don't know about you, but that's a lose. That's a loss for 200 to 500 million men. I'm sorry, 2 to 5 million. I don't know where I got the 100 from. Do I have any rum? I don't have any rum in this. Where am I getting 200 and 500 million? Holy crap. I'm an idiot. Sorry. By the time this is done, this could be 2 to 5 million men. You know, because if you're losing 300 to 500,000 Ukrainians, 3 to 500,000 Russians, we're already at 1 million men. By the time this is over, you're getting ready to send 500,000 NATO forces in, and then you've got to add, American men in there at some point. We're going to be looking at millions of men. Anyway, they say sanctions will not go unanswered, or such actions will not go unanswered. Mikhail Rezvozkiev, the city's Moscow-installed governor, said 2 children were among the dead and that 151 people were injured, of which more than 80 were hospitalized. The governor declared Monday a day of mourning in the city and has said he has been visiting the injured in the hospitals. Russian President Vladimir Putin calls him immediately after the attack and expressed his condolences. The governor accused Kyiv authorities of striking on the sly. His deputy, Alexander Kulagin, also told Russian state news agencies, TASS, that many among the injured were also at the beach during the attack. So they're blaming the United States, I think rightly, for this. I think they're rightly blaming the United States for this. We sent the missiles. We sent the techs. We're giving them the data on where to strike. They struck. Now, Russia doesn't know these are like cluster bombs. So when they shoot down a missile, they think, hey, okay, we've stopped it from really doing that much damage. They don't expect the damn thing to explode and scatter cluster mines all over the place. Infamous says, I think this is some dot of a psyop to see how long we stay here. Joker's compromised. Well, I can tell you this. The response from the Russian Ministry of Defense regarding today's massacre. Now, again, remember, they're calling it a massacre. They're calling it a massacre. But it is innocent civilians. And based on our own rhetoric that we've been using against Israel, this does classify as a massacre. It's the same thing that Israel's doing to the Palestinians, even if it is accidental. They say the U.S. is responsible for this massacre, and they will get an answer. All flight missions for American ATA CMS missiles are programmed by American specialists based on their own U.S. satellite intelligence data. Therefore, the responsibility from the deliberate missile strike against the civilian population of Sevastopol lies primarily with Washington. Such actions will not go unanswered. Are you guys making fun of me? Why are you asking how many childhood vaccines did I get? Because I can't read? So, Russia This is from today. Russia summons the American ambassador over a deadly attack that Moscow says used U.S.-made missiles. The Russian Foreign Ministry summoned the American ambassador on Monday to protest what it says was the use of U.S.-made advanced missiles in a Ukrainian attack on Russia-annexed Crimea that reportedly killed 4 and wounded more than 150. Washington has effectively become a party to the war on Ukraine's side. Retaliatory measures will certainly follow. It did not elaborate. There was no immediate comment from U.S. or Ukrainian officials. The Associated Press could not independently verify Russia's claims about the missiles used. So they're saying they're directly going to retaliate. I don't know what that means, but it's not good. And granted, we're certainly not at the, drop nukes phase of this. But there is going to be a point where, with these new drones that they have, imagine instead of creating tanks, they create drones. And they have a cargo ship 10 miles off the coast. 10 miles off the coast of the United States. And they open the hangar doors, because my little DJI drone, my little DJI drone that I use for photography and stuff, that can, if I stand there and I have my little reflectors on the antennas, I can fly that thing like a mile away. And that's just a small little casual photograph drone. What happens when you have a cruise ship that has this huge broadcast antenna pull up off the coast of California, North Carolina, Florida, and they decide to launch 10,000 of these drones, 100,000 drones. And then each one is either AI that has a simple program in it that looks for, an image of a human body, and it's been programmed to just hit that. Or, picture of a car or whatever. You can easily tell very dumb AI, just target something that looks like this. And next thing you know, you've got 10,000 people, 10,000 cars blowing up. How do you fight that? Now you can say, oh, well, tower jammers and radar jammers. Sure, that's fine, but you're going to cover your entire coast in radar jammers in, a month or two? There's no way that's going to happen. And, I've seen video now multiple times in this war of young men, and it doesn't even, I don't even know what side of the war they were on, but they were young men, and they see a drone coming for them, and they're trying to dodge it and outrun it. You can't. These drones are too fast. There's no terrain for a drone to trip over. It's 30 feet in the air. The odds of you shooting it with a ball-type ammo is next to nothing. I've seen men turn towards the thing, drop the gun, put their hands up, and do the kind of, no, please, no, I give up. And the drone's like, don't care, zip, bang, and that guy's hamburger. How it reminds me a lot of when you look at the early warfare between the United States and England, the UK, well, before it was the UK, when it was just England, and we were trying to break away and get our sovereignty as a free nation. And the old way of doing battle was, two lines being led by generals or whatever would line up in a field with their ball-type ammo and their muskets, and they'd pack them, and they'd ready, aim, fire, plow, 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 and a bunch of guys would fall down on the other line. And they'd say, ready, aim, fire, plow, 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 and they'd just stand there trading volleys of ball-type ammo until one half was dead, and the other side was claimed the winner. It was gruesome. Can you imagine standing in a field just having, okay, here we go, and having ammo shot at you that would drop you? Then we got to trench warfare, and then we get to smart weapons, and then we get to tanks, and then we get to jets and long-range munitions. And then it was more like equipment versus equipment, pilot versus pilot. we're back to the musket versus musket, which is you're in a field, you got a gun, but it may not do you any good, and you're basically just going to stand there and take it as a drone comes and blows your freaking legs off. And we're playing with fire. Our government is playing with fire. And it's look, we can win this. Sure, the United States will probably be victorious with Russia. But if Russia decides we're not just going to give up, we're all in on this, and the United States says, well, we're all in on this too. Okay. Then if you're not giving up, I'm going to be dropping a nuke. Well, we'll just drop a nuke back. Okay. At what point do you say, oh, we're in trouble? This is bad. Because that's where we're headed. And they're already now automatically drafting men. They want to draft women in the United States. This goes nowhere but down. This is from Tom Jones on Twitter. I'm not in the UK, so I don't get a lot of UK television. But this is from a Tom Jones in the UK. He says, latest from noted nuclear annihilation enthusiast Tobias Elwood, Britain must now face Russia directly, he says. Whatever you think of our stance on Ukraine, direct military conflict with a peer nuclear state is an insane suggestion. And I agree with him. Now, I don't know who this Tobias Elwood is, but he's on TV, and he's apparently somebody relatively important. These warmongers are fine because they sit at home and report on the news as the rest of us go off and march to war.
We are now at war in Europe. We need to move to a war footing. We are involved in that. We've mobilized our procurement processes. We're gifting equipment. We need to face Russia directly and rather than leaving Ukraine to do all the work.
So he wants the UK to directly face Russia. That's UK boys putting on army gear and going off to be blown up by drones. That's insane to me. And what? Look, I have friends in Ukraine. I like the Ukrainian people. I don't think that Russia should have attacked them. But there is a point where you have to say, you know something, maybe we need to give some land to Russia. Maybe we need to sit down at the negotiation table and see what would at least bring this to an end. And the West's answer is no. We want all of Ukraine. This is not going to go well. Certainly we can all agree upon that. This is from Wall Street Silver. He said the UK Army is recruiting again. The new ads have only white people in them, which I think is interesting, and we'll listen to the ad here as we go. Why aren't they recruiting any of their culturally enriched population to die in foreign wars for them? And if you look at this ad, this is kind of interesting. The soldiers are Caucasian and white. The old people that are being saved are white. It's obviously near a farmland because it's a bunch of fields. The people being saved are old and white and or children. So you notice that all the military men are the ones in the military outfits. Of course, they're all white because, the UK was very big on wanting diversity and multiculturalism and what we need less white people and we need more gay representation in the military, more brown people. But then when it hits the fan, they go, hey, you know what? Britain's like 80% white. I guess we probably shouldn't alienate them. We're going to need them for war, guys. So let's hit at the heartstrings. Let's pull at the heartstrings. Listen to this ad. So stupid.
What's your gut saying? Do nothing? Or help? You've got the instincts. Now, get the training.
You've got the instincts. Now get the training. You belong here. You belong on the battlefield, guys. You need to be the hero for the UK. Hip, hip, hurrah. Hip, hip, hurrah. Say, serve your country. Save your country. They hate you. Here in the United States, if you're white and you're male, they won't hire you at Disney. You're part of the problem. President Joe Biden's directly come out and said that being white and being a nationalist is the biggest threat to the United States. But then they want to come to us with hat in hand, begging us, we need you for war, guys. We're going to draft you. Do you know what happens if one guy out of 1,000 says, no, I'm not going to war? He gets thrown in jail. What happens if it's 100 out of 1,000? Or 500 out of 1,000? Or 800 out of 1,000? What happens when it's those kind of numbers? What happens when it's those kind of numbers that says, no, I'm not going to war for a president that has called me an enemy to my own country. It's not going to happen. What happens? You can't, you could try to throw them all in jail. But if they just refuse to fight, you're not going to have an army. You're not going to have an army. And I think people my age, Gen Xers, I was around for Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and then come to find out that we did that for nothing. We did that for oil. I was around for Afghanistan. We did that for nothing. Country went right back to the people that we lost thousands of military men's lives for. That went back, and they got $160, million or however much of our equipment with it. This isn't defending the homeland. This isn't defending against, we got into World War II, the United States did, directly because Japan attacked us on our soil. It was the biggest mistake that Germany and Japan could have done, because they awoke the sleeping giant, as the expression went back in the day. But now you're going to tell me, oh, we need to pack up and we need to go over there and we need to fight for Ukraine. Why? Because Russia's bad. That's not going to cut it. Russia hasn't wronged me personally. So, no. Gonna get bad, man. Oh, so this is Dr. Peter St. Onge. He is a professor of finance and something else. And I like him a lot. He says China's economy is sputtering, with sales, production, and investments all missing, while the housing slump continues despite massive government aid. The one bright spot, exports, is now in danger of a trade war. The question from her is, will the Chinese people put up with a corrupt police state that no longer delivers prosperity? If not, it could get kinetic. What do you do when China's economy is falling apart? What has happened traditionally in the past when America's economy falls apart? Well, they want you to pay less attention to the. Do you remember when inflation was blamed on Putin? I'm old enough to remember 9 months ago when Joe Biden blamed all the inflation on Putin and the war. Do you remember that? So imagine saying things are really bad here, but if we get into war, then we'll tell everybody it's because of the war, and we can't help it. And what are you going to do? Well, what happens when China is in the same situation, where China's economy is going to crap and our economy is going to crap? And you want to get away from having your people angry at the government. Start a war. We've done it in the past. He starts talking about this at some point, about, hey, you know what? If China's finances are bad, maybe they're going to jump in and stir up a kettle of war to kind of get the citizens off the necks of the government.
China's COVID lockdowns being the poster child, meaning lackluster growth may be the new normal in China. Indeed, it could get worse. If that's the case, if Beijing's given up on growth, then we will see whether the famously restive Chinese people put up with a corrupt police state that is no longer putting chickens in their pots. There are hundreds of riots and near riots every year across China that simply don't get reported. China censors them. The ones that do leak out are pretty nasty, including entire villages rising up against corrupt property theft or depositors rising up against banks that run out of money. In one case last year, they actually brought out the army to drive tanks around the bank until the protesters dispersed. The risk for America, of course, is that things get bad enough that Xi goes for a Hail Mary and picks a fight over Taiwan. Don't think that happens unless he's backed into a corner, but given the Biden administration's need to distract voters with new wars, China would probably find a willing partner only too happy to squander yet more of America's blood and treasure.
And I think he has a good point here. You know, many times you guys have said to me when I say, hey, China might go for Taiwan, or China might back Russia. And a lot of times people, because I do read your comments on my videos and stuff, and a lot of times guys will say, oh yeah, but China's, their finances are as bad as ours. You know, they don't have money. Right, so what do? You bang the drums of war. It gets people's mind away from government corruption. It gets people's minds in more of a mindset of, okay, we're at war, so I understand food prices are more. Yes, okay, I guess we're at war, so I understand why we have to ration gas. Oh, we're at war. I understand we've been attacked or hacked by a foreign entity, and so I'm not going to have power for the next 3 or 4 days while they fix that. They know that people are kind of more understanding if you're in a war scenario. But what happens if they're the ones that put us in that scenario? Because, I mean, there is a reason here in the West, we call it the industrial complex and the war machine. You know, because that machine makes money. That machine is profitable for many, many people. Not us, of course, but for the politicians and these CEOs of these defensive companies and the quote unquote, I'm sure China has something very similar. It's something to just keep in mind that if we get into it with Russia and Russia's backed, the United States backs NATO and all these other Western countries, there is a chance that China could just decide to jump in on the side of Russia and use Russia as its proxy for China and the United States and the West using Ukraine as the proxy for the West. I don't know. But I can tell you now that, with Russia sending, even if they do it occasionally, they are sending their tactical subs and weapon systems, ships, down to Cuba and parking in ports in Cuba, showing United States this is hey, remember, Russia, we get along with Cuba pretty good here. We can use this as a port. Don't think we won't. It's just a little bit of a flex. And this is what they do when they start out war, is a little bit of saber rattling. A little bit of saber rattling to remind you, hey, the problem is America's rattling an empty saber. China and Russia, they know our problems with recruiting and military. It's on news stories. It's in mainstream news that we're way down in recruiting. They know, they see the videos on TikTok of guys named Ricky that like to wear lots of makeup, that those guys are not going to go to war. That they just will say no. They know that. And so, they're taking a little bit of a gamble that the American male has been feminized to the point that it's not really a threat. Let's see. Steve Kuzer says $5. Thank you very much, sir. Dung is fun. Says, I like your background. Is that a green screen? Yes, it is. Just a big old green sheet I have hanging behind me until I get into my permanent basement. Gellerish says maybe Biden should compensate the Russians by forgiving their student loans. God, don't even get me started on that one. Infamous says, I'm watching The Mist. Good movie. How quick things go to crap in a crisis. Yes, they do. And Dungus Funds, I've seen nerve gas being used against Russians using drones. I did see that as well on the internet. I saw them doing the kick and chicken. Where's Geneva Convention? I saw that as well. I did see those drones dropping not legal things on them, and it's pretty ugly to watch. All right, so moving on to the next topic of the evening. I will say this. We're heading deeper. We're not getting out of anything. We're heading deeper into things. And just keep that in mind, that things are still escalating and they're still getting worse. And if they get bad enough, they're going to start getting us into some more trouble. And they're doing this over lithium and fertile earth in Ukraine, because even Lindsey Graham that I played in that clip that I played a couple weeks ago, he's like, we do not want Russia to have Ukraine because of the fertile soil and all the mineral deposits and all the things that are great for making lithium batteries and the green electricity. We can't let Russia and China have that. So we are literally fighting over dirt and the things in the dirt, and they want to send you off to die in that. So just remember that. That's kind of important. From the Daily Wire, Luden. So this is moving on to our government censoring us, our government lying to us, our government being above the law. And it's not just at the presidential level like you see where no one's against the law as they go after Trump, but nothing happens to Hillary Clinton, nothing happens to Joe Biden, nothing happens to Obama, nothing happens to Cuomo and all the people that put COVID patients in with elderly retirement homes. This is now moving down to like school boards and judges in local areas. I'm going to read through these next three stories real quick, going to bang them out. But I want you to realize that corruption is very deep across the board. And there is no accountability for the corruption. And that will lead to the downfall. Look, if somebody's corrupt and they get caught and they get prosecuted and they get put in jail, that tells everybody else, hey, you probably don't want to be corrupt. You probably don't want to be a corrupt individual. But what happens when somebody's caught being corrupt and they get a slap on the wrist or nothing, and they even stay in office? Well, the other politicians, other crooked people see that, and they say, well, there's no punishment for this stuff. I'm going to get crooked too. That's where you get into banana republic time. Now, if you guys remember, Loudoun County, wait, do I want to do this story later? Let me do the Loudoun County one here at the end, because that way I can edit it out the easiest, because not all of this is going to make it to YouTube. Not all of this is going to make it to YouTube because Big Mama YouTube doesn't let me talk about certain topics. Okay, we'll do it that way. There we go. And it's easier for me to just cut the end of this video off and then upload the front half to YouTube, and then you guys on Rumble and Locals can see the rest of it here. But I do want this to go on YouTube so they're at least aware of what's going on. So this is from Yahoo News, from The Root. Atlanta area judge arrested for allegedly hitting a cop, and it's not the first time she's in trouble. There's a reason why I'm going to read this story. Two parts. Number one, you notice she's female. Number two, you'll notice she's part of a minority group. Keep that in mind when I read these stories, because it does matter. Judge Christina Peterson is facing a felony charge after being arrested at a North Atlanta nightclub. According to a report obtained by Fox, the Douglas County judge allegedly hit an officer on the head at a Red Martini restaurant and lounge. Peterson, 38, appeared to be under the influence and refused to identify herself, which led to her being jailed. She's charged with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers by use of threats or violence, simple battery against a police officer and was released Thursday afternoon on a $5,000 bond, according to Fulton County jail records. Fulton County. Raise your hand if Fulton County sounds familiar to you. They say in several Instagram posts, Peterson has called her arrests a setup and insisting she was trying to help a woman who was being attacked by a man when she accidentally hit the police officer. Peterson alleges she has bruises and a black eye and a swollen knee from the incident. Two witnesses have come forward in Peterson's defense. Except there's cameras. She says, wow, they'll stop at nothing to tarnish my character. Hell Badger says, wasn't that the county that went after Trump? Let me see, where's my button?
Ding, ding, ding. What do we have for her, Johnny?
That's right, sure is. Boy, they just have all the great judges there, don't they? As a role as a probate judge, Peterson presides over cases involving vital records, including wedding certificates and wills. But listen to this. She became the first black person to be elected as Douglas County's probate judge in 2020. Since then, this is 4 years ago, since then, she's been accused of ethical misconduct totaling 50 charges against her. 20 of them have been dismissed. Why are they dismissed? Because she's a woman and because she's got the caramel skin. The problem is there's video of her doing this stuff. I'm not sure if there's screaming or whatever. I'm going to pop the video in, then I'll bring the audio up so I don't blow your ears out.
No, he just punched me. Everything for no reason. Let him fucking go. Let him fucking go. Let him fucking go. Let him go.
That's a cop.
So you can see she comes up in defense of the other woman that's being restrained by a security officer. And she says, let her effing go, let her effing go. And then she starts hitting the cop.
And that's on me.
Guys, this is a judge. This is supposed to be the highest pinnacle of like civil service in the land. The judges are supposed to be lawyers and defendants and prosecutors and the people that are the pinnacle of our law system. And Ghetto Thing here is still facing 30 ethics charges, and she punched a cop and attacked him because he was trying to stop another woman from attacking people. And what does she do? She blames everybody else. There's no I'm sorry. There's no accountability. This is why I have problems with women in positions of power, because when they screw up, there's no accountability. Ever. They say the Georgia Supreme Court is yet to decide if Peterson should remain in office through her term ending this year. So you're going to see her assault a cop on video outside of a nightclub, and then the Georgia Supreme Court's like, I don't know, we'll think about it. Blast says this is what happens when you have dumbed down society to the point we're a little more than animals. This is idiocracy. This is idiocracy at this point. Dredd says Fulton County had Fannie Packed Willis there, prosecuting Young Thug and Trump, and also screwing Nathan Wade, causing a man divorced an attractive woman for a cave troll sugar mama. There's also a story, Gellery says, there's also a story about Dr. Haim, who reported that Texas Children's Hospital is still cutting off, things off kids so they look like the other gender. Yes, DOJ and state attorney are prosecuting him for HIPAA violations. Yeah, so if you guys aren't familiar with that, that's a doctor that said, hey, this hospital's still doing these things they shouldn't be doing. And instead of going after the hospital for doing the illegal things, they went after the doctor for squealing on them. Blast says CVN 69, Eisenhower took a hypersonic hit and is now in the Mediterranean. I was on the short list to go, but I didn't. We're not the 800-pound gorilla anymore. Correct. Dungus Fun says, I look at NATO as the HOA Homeowners Association. Ukraine didn't join, so the best option is to invade to keep HOA out. True. And Sinatra sends a photo. Let me open that in a new tab. Why women deserve less. Yes, no kidding. No kidding. So no accountability whatsoever from her, right? All right, well, let's look. And I got a couple more here. Listen to this, guys. This is from Libs at TikTok. Great follow if you're on Twitter. Also, if you want to follow me, I'm at Bachelor Joker. Hey, while I think of this, guys, let me do a campaign read. I've been in touch with my representative over at Rumble, and we're trying to test out their campaign system, which is where you can do a live read, and based on how many people are in the live stream, you can do earnings for it, and it's a good way for any channel of any size to get advertising dollars. I told them I was going to read one, and that way we can test it and make sure that it's working. So now that we've got 430 of us in here, I'm going to do a quick live read to see if it'll test it for them and also be a supporter for my channel. So I thought we would check that out. So I'm going to read one for 1775coffee.com. That is Rumble's coffee company. Rumble decided, hey, you know what? We like coffee. We're gonna create our own coffee product. That'll directly support Rumble, which is, of course, supporting free speech, smaller content creators, and other people like that. I think that's awesome. They say it's time to say goodbye to Starbucks and say hello to Rumble's 1775 coffee. Unlike other brands, this is a coffee that backs free speech and is unapologetic about it. Visit 1775coffee.com. Use the promo code STUDIO40, that's Studio40, to get 40% off any coffee subscription. The coffee comes in medium and dark roasts. It also comes in pea berry, which is similar to Kona coffee. In other words, this stuff is premium. Click the link in the live chat or the description. You can also go directly to 1775 Coffee and use the promo code STUDIO40 to get 40% off today. I will be putting that 1775 Coffee, let me copy that. I will be putting that into the description below the video. And that way, if you guys want to check it out, with the 40% off, I checked it out. With the 40% off, it comes in about the same price as coffee that you buy down at the grocery store. I've got a couple of brands I've tried before. It's good. It's pricey coffee. I checked out the 1775 coffee myself, just clicking on the link and checking it out. And if I do the 40% off, it comes to about the same price as you get in the grocery store. I'm probably going to order some. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, and then I got busy, and I haven't needed any coffee yet. But I'm probably going to order some and see what it's like, so we will check that out. Anyway, that's today's sponsor of the video, is 1775 Coffee, and you will be supporting Rumble as well. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, this is from Libs of TikTok, and this is a new released body cam footage shows Colorado State Senator Faith Winter showing up intoxicated to a legislative meeting. She drove there while drunk and parked in a fire zone. She's now facing an ethics complaint. Winter was also the main sponsor for a bill requiring educators to use a child's chosen name or be accused of discrimination. This is what I keep talking about, guys. This is what is so unbelievable. Is that now, first we've got judges getting arrested. This is the same day, guys. This isn't across a month or a week. And notice, it's another female. And is she going to be held accountable? No, of course not. Here's the video of her, the news story of it. I'll just play it for you, if I have audio.
To move forward in this ethics and colleagues. And they met today and determined there is enough to move forward in this ethics investigation. And that includes video of the April meeting in North Glen where she appeared intoxicated. Winter apologized for her behavior the day after the public meeting and said she was seeking substance abuse treatment. The North Glen City Council voted unanimously to file the ethics complaint against Winter. As part of the investigation, the committee that met today also received surveillance video of Winter's arrival at that April meeting, parking in a fire zone. And it included police body cam video that shows her interaction with North Glen Police Chief Jim May.
What I want to do is give you an opportunity to call someone to come get you.
Sure.
And make sure you get home safely.
Sure.
Okay. Last thing I want to do is you drive off and you hurt somebody or hurt somebody else. Okay?
Sure.
I'm not going to make you blow into anything. I'm just, okay? I'm worried about you right now. That's why I stopped. Because I mean, you took some blows tonight.
That was in reference to the treatment she received from some people at that community meeting, kind of attacking Winter that night. So is what you just saw preferential treatment? A spokesman for North Glen Police just told me less than 10 minutes ago, no.
No, it's not preferential treatment. We're just going to slap her on the wrist and, you know. And look, if she was drinking and she got pulled over by the cops, I'm pretty sure that if I was drinking and I got pulled over the cops, I'd get nailed with a DUI. I'd get nailed with something, right? Wouldn't they nail me with something? But she's going to get nothing. And the cop's like, I don't want you to hit anybody, so we're going to get somebody to take you home. No ticket, no breathalyzer. And you know they're not going to give her a ticket or even prosecute her because they have no evidence, guys. All she'd have to say is, they didn't have me breathe. They didn't take a blood test. They don't know what my blood alcohol content was. I just wasn't feeling well that day. She's literally not going to get anything. She's literally not going to get anything for this. You know she's not. No accountability. But what bothers me more than just her driving, which is bad enough as it is the fact that she's showing up to government events. She's supposed to be representing the people, and she's trashed. She's trashed so bad everybody noticed. No accountability. Zero. I think this is the last one I have on this. What about Oakland Mayor? Another woman. Defiant Oakland Mayor Shang Tao denies any wrongdoing in first comments following an FBI raid. This woman was raided. A defiant Oakland Mayor, Shang Tao, gave her first public comments on Monday following the FBI raid on her home last week, saying she has nothing to hide and that she's not the subject of a federal investigation. I want to be clear. I've done nothing wrong, said Tao. I can tell you with confidence that this investigation is not about me, even though they raided her house. She said she blasted the raid on her home early this Thursday morning, which she said came without warning, which most raids don't come with warning, and said the effort to have her recalled from office is a waste of time and city resources. So she's obviously doing so bad that there was an attempt at a recall election. The feds haven't released any of the details about the probe or said who the subject of the investigation is. But she fought back saying she would not be stepping down from office. She would not be stepping down from office. I've done nothing wrong. Let's listen to her. Let's listen to her. Let's see what she has to say about it, yeah?
The timing of all this is troubling, and we should all be concerned. We now have an active recall campaign that is a waste of time and public resources, and I have questions that need to be answered. I want to know what probable cause the FBI has. What evidence have they collected that justifies raiding the home of a sitting mayor without notice and without the courtesy of a conversation? I want to know more about the handful of billionaires from San Francisco and from Piedmont who are hell-bent on running me out of office. I want to know why, the day following the qualification of a recall election, funded by some of the richest people in the Bay Area, seemed like the right day to execute a warrant. I want to know how the TV cameras knew to show up on my sleepy residential street so early in the morning to capture footage of the raid.
You know, it's weird. I don't remember her speaking out when, or anybody else on the left. I don't remember them speaking out when they went to raid Mar-a-Lago and they went through all Trump's possessions and they didn't give him any notice, and all the cameras were there waiting right when the government showed up. I don't remember a whole lot of outrage on the left when it happened to Trump or Giuliani or Steve Bannon or Alex Jones. See, they don't like it when it happens to their opponents, but when it happens to them, well, actually, they cheer it on when it happens to their opponents. But when it happens to them, well, this is unfair. What kind of country do we live in if this is the government we live? Well, if you're going to do it to your opponents, they're going to do it to you, dummy. Roger Stone's another one. Thank you, Jack Straw. Yeah, it's fair play. It's fair play. Here you go, lady.
And I want to know why Fox News and Breitbart were so prepared to fan the flames and to tell a story that they want to tell.
Oh, so you mean like CNN and MSNBC and New York Times and Atlantic all telling the story they want to tell about Trump or about any other conservatives? Gosh, it almost sounds like you're getting a taste of your own medicine, doesn't it now, lady?
To bend the facts to shape a narrative. I have a lot of questions and I will get answers. We all will get answers.
And here's the other part of her speech. I think I still have it. Do I still have the other part of her speech? No, I don't. I thought there was another part to it. I may have not copy-pasted it over. Do I still have it in my other browser? Let me see here, just a second. Let's see if I still have the other video. I think this is where'd you come from? All right, I don't know where that tab came from. Let's see, that's the one video. Let me see if I have the other one. Okay, here's the other video I have. Let me put this in here as well. Here's the other one.
Well, guess what? I'm not going down like that. We're not going down like that. The people who voted for me deserve to have their voices heard and communities prioritized.
There's a recall election. The people that elected you have spoken, and they want an opportunity to elect someone else. I don't know what else she's done, and why they're looking for a new election, but it must be something serious if they can get enough votes to get a redo on their election.
I'm seeking the truth right now, just as much as you all are. But I will not be bullied, and I will not be disparaged, and I will not be threatened out of this office. There are a lot of radical right-wing forces who know they will never win an election.
Radical right-wing forces? Where did that come from? Lady, are you trying to say that the FBI is filled with radical right-wingers? Because it's the FBI that went to your house. I don't know what you're smoking, but I'll tell you right now, I don't think the FBI is full of a bunch of radical right-wingers.
In Oakland Fair and Square. They know their extreme views are at...
Oh, now she's doing this as a political speech against extreme right-wingers. Where did that come from? What the hell does that have to do with any of this? Now she's just trying to redirect the attention away from her, because accountability, guys. Now, I'm not saying that the right wing's better than the left wing necessarily. I think politicians are corrupt on both sides. But where's the accountability? All she really had to come up and say is, you know what? I'm getting this ironed out with the FBI. We're seeing what's going on. As soon as I find out what's going on, you'll know what's going on. Thank you. And she could walk off the stage. But instead, now she's out after Fox News and Breitbart and right-wingers and what? Where are you going, lady?
Odds with our Oakland values, but they have built the rules to protect and preserve their power and maintain dominance over the rest of us.
Wait a minute. I want you to hear that last part again. The right-wingers, guys, the right-wingers have established power to keep control over us. That's what she said.
But they have built the rules to protect and preserve their power and maintain dominance over the rest of us.
Is she smoking the good? Let's see, Oakland. What percentage of Oakland voted for Biden? Let's see here. Do they break it down easily? They have Oakland? No, come on. Just give me a nice simple... I'll ask the AI. What percentage voted? What the hell? I asked Bing AI what percentage of Oakland voted for Biden. It says, looks like I can't respond to this topic. It might be time to move on to a new topic. What? Well, what good is AI if I can't ask it for... What the hell? Great job, Bing. I don't know what percentages. Well, I think we all know. Oakland is not MAGA country. Well, there's only a couple of AIs you can use. Bing, Chat, GPT. You know what? Let me ask Twitter's AI. Let me ask Grok. Let me find where Grok is here. Grok. I don't know what the button looks like for Grok. There's Grok. Let's see. What percentage of Oakland voted for Biden? Let's see what Grok says. Oakland, Joe Biden received 79% of the vote. 79% according to information available. Okay, so you say your Braves AI says 56. Grok says 79, which is 80. Let's even cut it in half. We'll call it 75% voted for Biden. Ah, yes, those evil right-wingers with their institutionally established power. When was the last time Oakland had a Republican mayor? See what Grok says again. John H. Reading from 1966 to 1977. Oh, boy, that established that Republican stronghold of Oakland that had Republicans in power 50 years ago. But what is missing? What is missing, guys? No accountability. No accountability. No accountability. No accountability. No accountability. No accountability. Never any accountability from any of these women. No accountability for any of these women. They just blame other people. She's blaming the hard right-wingers. I wanted to talk about this story just for a few minutes, guys, because understand that you've got corrupt mayors, corrupt judges, corrupt senators, whether it's at the federal level or the state level. We've got corruption, and those corrupt people are never punished. And when they're never punished, it incentivizes more corruption. What happens when, because you're a woman or because your skin's slightly darker than a sheet of legal paper, you can get away with things? What happens when you get these positions of power because you're a woman and your skin is slightly darker than a grain of rice? Corruption, corruption, corruption. And these stories, guys, these 3 stories came out within 24 hours of each other. These should be huge political scandals, but it's the normalization of whatever. It's the normalization of, it happens all the time. Don't even worry about it. It's nothing really. Who cares? It's the normalization of crazy. It's the normalization of falling apart. It's the normalization of awful. And lastly, now this is not last for those of us here on Locals and Rumble, but this is going to be the last story for the video recording that gets sent over to YouTube. So YouTube, if you want to hear about other bad things, you're going to be missing about 20 minutes more of this. So if you're on YouTube, you got to head over to Rumble. You got to head over to Locals, because Big Mommy YouTube doesn't let me read a lot of this stuff, so you got to understand. From the New York Post, how non-citizens are getting voter registrations forms across the U.S. and how Republicans are trying to stop it. Remember that whole thing on how illegal immigrants are not allowed to vote, but yet somehow they're when they go to collect welfare, which almost all of them need, they're given ballots? Why is that a thing? Well, we know why it's a thing. They say welfare offices and other agencies in 49 U.S. states are providing voter registration forms to migrants not migrants. Not migrants, Fox News. Illegal immigrants. They're giving voter registration forms to illegal immigrants without requiring proof of citizenship, leading Republicans and conservatives to call for swift federal action to stop the handouts. Every state but Arizona, which recently passed a law barring the practice on state but not federal forms, gives applicants for either welfare benefits, driver's licenses, or in some case, mail-in ballot voter registration forms without demanding proof of citizenship. There's currently no requirement on federal voting forms to provide proof of U.S. citizenship, although it's illegal to falsely claim one as a citizen. Yeah, but you're not going back and researching that. They're not going back and fixing this. Do you know now, just now, in the news today, as of now, they're like, oh, yeah, we're missing 330,000 ballots from 2020's Arizona election. We don't have the physical ballots. So, yeah, there's no paper trail. Oopsie. Oh, no. So you're going to tell me by the time we get through figuring out if this is like a legit election and there's not been screwing with anything, by the time we get through with that, it's been 4 years, like a full term of a president's gone through? So you're going to tell me if there's something screwy in the 2024, we won't find out until 2028, but by then, oopsie? See, this is why we're in a lot of trouble, guys. A lot of trouble. Because even though Arizona's not doing this, Arizona already cheated, according to the new stuff coming out today. That they don't have any paper backups, and they're finding all these problems in Arizona. I'm not going to read down through this. You get the idea. But it's being held at basically anybody that comes in for any city service or state service or federal service. They're just giving out this stuff, or they're just giving out election stuff. Why? We know why. We know why. Infamous says they learned from World War II Germany nationalism that saved Germany from socialism and the more towards globalism. The purpose behind centralized banking is to spread socialism under the guise of promoting trade. Sir Macatex says $5. Keep shining the light. Thank you, sir. Modern Stoic says $1. This is the same effing nonsense when corrupt politicians in third world countries get caught. Very true. Stokon says, Joker, it's how the modern libtard works. They really believe we're trying to end them. Might want to think about that because at some point into the not too distant future, we're going to have to prove it. Just saying. Well, here's the thing. If they'll go and say all these nasty things about us and that we're literally a threat to democracy and a threat to the country, do you not think that they will do some shenanigans to make sure they stay in power? Do you think they're just going to be like, oh, no, it's good. Like, moving along. Modern Stoic says, start calling these asshats team genocide. Their language is what happens before every ending, including Carthage. All right, so then the last stories I have, I'm sorry, I'll read this, and then that'll be the end for YouTube, and then we'll continue on here on Locals and Rumble. From TV Newser, I wanted to look this up. Saturday, June 15th, so this is for last weekend, evening cable news ratings. So this is the 25 to 54 demographic. That's the prime demographic that matters, right? Is the 25 to 54. They're the people that are working. They're the most people that are voting. They're the most people that are spending money. They're the people that are concerned about taxes and work and employment and all the things, right? I want you to listen to this. Now remember, this says right here, live plus SD, which maybe streaming device, live plus streaming device. I don't know what SD stands for. Times 1,000, okay? At 5 p.m., which is starting prime time, CNN, 70,000 viewers. MSNBC, 37,000 viewers. That's 100,000 viewers by the prime time demographics at 5 p.m. At 6 p.m., it's 130,000 between MSNBC and CNN. At 7 p.m., it's 105,000 people. At 8 p.m., it's 86,000 people. Rachel Maddow on MSNBC at 9 p.m. from the demo gets 28,000 viewers, guys. 28,000 viewers. Rachel Maddow. 28,000 viewers in the demo. Every one of my YouTube videos that I put out has more views than Rachel Maddow gets from the demo. I get more views than Rachel Maddow does. And one of the reasons why I wanted to read this to you. Now, if you go for all views, including not the demo, which, let's be honest, includes a bunch of really old people that don't use social media, then Rachel Maddow gets like 400,000 views. Because that's all views, total views. So she still gets more views than I do, but she only gets 28,000 views from 25 to 54, but she gets 400,000 views. That means the only people that are watching Rachel Maddow and these other news people on TV are old people. That's good. It's telling you that the old ways of doing things, which is a few news channels that have all the power and all the voice, and they can put out their propaganda, and they can put out all their crap. The people that listen to them are ending. They're just growing old and passing. There's no more of them. That's it. That is the best news you could hope for. That is the best news you could hope for. That's why overwhelmingly, young people are voting for Trump. They've moved to looking at real information on the internet and not listening to the warmongers on TV. All right, I'm going to leave it there for YouTube. You guys here at Locals and Rumble, hang out. We're not going anywhere. For those of you on YouTube, you got to come over to Rumble. You got to come over to YouTube. Or excuse me, you got to come over to Rumble. You got to come over to Locals. Come on over, be a supporter today on Locals. It's $5 a month. You can support my independent journalism and my work. But you're not. I can't do some of these stories on YouTube. YouTube is just way too sensitive on everything that we need to talk about. So if you're on YouTube, well, sorry, but suck it.